hi, everybody, and welcome to the OutMarket.Pro podcast. I'm your host, Mark Stein. Are you looking to start a personal health journey for the new year? Well, I'm here today with Sonia Magruder, an integrative, I'll never say that right, integrative nutrition health coach. After a stressful career in the retail industry, Sonia decided to pursue her own health journey, which led to a new career as a nutrition health coach. She now helps her clients find the sustainable, personalized solutions they need to improve their health. So welcome to the OutMarket.Pro podcast, Sonia.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm so happy to be here with you.
So let's start with the basics. What do most of us do wrong? And we'll do a high level examination here first. What do most of us do wrong? And what are some of the first steps that you recommend? And I'm sure it's a step-by-step process. Most of us have too many things that we're not doing properly for ourselves. And it's a matter of stepping through those things that we need to do to make lasting lifestyle changes. I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but I bet it's got to be a series of steps. So
yeah,
start us off.
Okay, you're right on track. So there's four main things that we really need to pay attention to if we're going to talk about basic pillars of health. One is sleep, our sleep hygiene, our diet, nutrition, and then how we manage stress and getting movement. Those are basic things. And if we can master those and optimize those, we can do pretty well. Now, one of the things that is a big problem is the food. It's the lack of real nutrition, and it's the ultra processed foods that people are eating. And many of them are marketed as being healthy, and they're not. They're anything but. You always want to look at the backside and actually read the ingredients, not what the front of the package says, because there's a lot of greenwashing, what we call greenwashing out there. So it's really helping people transition off of these highly processed foods because they are laden with ingredients that have chemicals like the toxic chemical glyphosate, which is the chemical in Roundup weed killer. And the crops of most of the ingredients that end up in these foods like corn, canola, soy, even sugar beets, wheat, barley, and oats are sprayed with Roundup. They're sprayed with this. So it gets into the plant. It can't be washed out, rinsed out, or cooked out. And then it ultimately ends up in the food that many people are consuming. And the reason we need to know about this and the reason why it's such a big problem is it is very disruptive to the gut microbiome. And our gut is where 70% of our immune system is. It's also where 90 to 95% of serotonin is made, which is the feel-good hormone. So there's a lot of a connection between our food and our mood because of that gut-brain connection.
Got it. You know, a good example of that, I was at Subway trying to get a relatively quick and healthier lunch. And I picked out of the bag of chips, I picked Sun Chips out. I didn't read the back, but I bet it's got just as much garbage in there as Lay's potato chips. And it's sort of sold as a healthy alternative.
Yes, even the name Sun Chips makes it sound natural and healthy, but I'm sure you're right. If you look at the back, it's probably going to have some corn ingredient. It's going to have canola or soybean oil, most likely. And the glyphosate that is sprayed on these crops that end up being in those ingredients is, I mentioned, it's disruptive to the gut microbiome, which is a problem. It's also linked to some serious diseases like leaky gut, autoimmune disease, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a cancer. The World Health Organization has already said that glyphosate is a probable human carcinogen, but it is in all these foods and all these products. And even it's the genetically modified ones. The main ones are corn, canola, soy, and sugar beets, but even the non-genetically modified crops like wheat, barley, oats, though they use glyphosate on it as a drying agent, as a desiccant, to be able to produce quicker, get production out there quicker of those crops. And so it's there. If you're eating oatmeal and it's not organic, there's a good chance there's glyphosate in there. And, we think of oatmeal as a healthy food, heart healthy and all that. So we have to really, one of the first things I do is help create awareness for people around these things.
Mm-hmm. People are, part of it is that they're busy. Part of it is that we're lazy, and go for the quick fix. So how do you deal with some of it's going to be resistance to cooking. A lot of it's going to have to be cooked from scratch, special ingredients. How do you work with people to help them make that transition? We'll just talk about diet first.
Okay. Well, I love that you asked me that question, because I have a 90-day program that helps solve that issue. They are going to have a regular meal that they'll put together themselves, but you mentioned convenience, and that's often the rub with people. Is people are busy, they're running around, they're taking care of family, they're taking care of their businesses, and that's why they're going in and grabbing that gas station food. That's why they're going through the drive-thrus. I used to do it myself and think that the grilled chicken sandwich at McDonald's was the healthy option, which now I know better. You don't know what you don't know until you do. So what this program does is it gives people just enough structure in a 90-day period, and then it tapers them down to a maintenance program, which helps keep them on track. But this structure helps people to transition off these highly processed foods. And it gives 2 superfood green, delicious shakes that you make. They're powder, you just add the liquid to them and some ice, you can blend fruit in them. But each shake is equivalent to the nutrition of 6 superfood salads. And they're convenient. It's literally healthy fast food. And there's a protein component, which is tablets, and a gut health component, and a couple other things. But this makes it so easy for people. They don't even have to think about what they're going to eat. Their breakfast and their lunch is taken care of. So they just have to get that one meal. They can have fruits and veggies for snacks. That's easy. You can bring that with you to work. It comes 1 month at a time. And the first box comes with a portable battery operated blender. So it's literally like no excuses. You bring your blender, you bring everything with you, and it's very satisfying.
Now, let me be sure I understand. Does this meal plan come with breakfast and lunch, or it excludes breakfast and lunch and has the dinner option? Which one is it?
So it replaces 2 meals.
Okay.
So there's the shake and the protein. Those are each going to be a meal, and it could really be whatever meals you want. Most people like to use those for breakfast and lunch, and then they have their dinner. Some people prefer to have a lunch, normal, regular food that they're going to either make or get at a restaurant, which I help people with how to order as healthy as possible at a restaurant. But it's better to make your own food, obviously. But whichever 2 meals out of the day they want to replace with this, they can do that. So it takes so much guesswork out of it, and it's just there. It's convenient. They know exactly what they're going to do. There's even a tracker sheet where they track everything as they do it.
Okay. So 2 questions come to mind. One is, I watch a lot of podcasts, and AG1 seems to be something that keeps recurring as a healthy drink regarding gut health and all that. Are you familiar with that particular product? Because I think there is a lot of awareness out there for people who watch podcasts. Yeah. I don't think it's on TV.
Yes, I am familiar with it. So the one that I have is Next Level because it's certified organic.
Okay.
And that's the differentiating factor there.
But very similar and relatively complete package.
Yeah, loaded with superfoods. Like I said, 1 shake is equal to the nutrition that you would get from 6 superfood salads. And the fact that it's certified organic, there's no pesticides, there's no herbicides, there's nothing sketchy in there at all. And the company that I get these products from, it's direct from the manufacturer. They are the manufacturer. They've been doing this for about 30 years now. They were doing organic before there was a USDA organic label. So they're very mission driven. The owners, I'm good friends with them, and their heart really is helping people get off of these processed foods that are greatly contributing to lifestyle disease and giving them an alternative and providing a solution.
Sure. Before I ask the next question, let me just call attention to the fact that I look like Papa Smurf with my coloring today. So I look purple. So, and I didn't check the lighting before we started. So please just, audience, excuse this. I don't really look this purple. I'm relatively healthy, but I don't look as bright and shiny as Sonia does. If you do a presentation and you forgot your belt or the equivalent, you're not comfortable until you say, "Hey, I forgot my belt. Excuse me." So anyway, now I feel okay. I can
Okay,
move.
good. You got that out of the way. You don't look
Yeah.
purple to me, but
Oh, I don't. Okay. Well,
no.
maybe it's just in mine. So let's talk about something else you brought up, which is how to eat relatively healthy when you're eating out.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your go-to recommended options when people are out and they have to eat something that's not prepared for them?
Right. So one of the things that I'm really adamant about is the oils that are used in restaurants, the seed oils, extracted oils that are very inflammatory. And typically they're using canola oil, they're using soybean oil, they're using maybe peanut oil. But sometimes they'll say it's olive oil, but it's often cut. You don't really know what you're getting. So it could be cut with canola oil to make it go farther because the canola is cheap. And,
Right.
It's a business, bottom line. So what I often do, and it's funny because I was just on Channel 8, just did a TV spot this morning about this that you just asked about. And what I do, this is my go-to thing. I'll just order a big salad. Most restaurants have a great, salad options, a few salad options on the menu, no dressing. And then I'll ask for a side of avocado, which almost every restaurant has, and some balsamic vinegar. And
Okay.
sometimes I'll even bring a little container with some herbs, like some Italian seasoning and some garlic powder and a little pinch of black pepper and a pinch of Himalayan salt, and mix that in the vinegar part because they bring you a little cup of vinegar at the restaurant and just pour that over it. And then you've got the avocado. The avocado is a healthy fat. It's a whole food and it's a healthy fat. And when you mix that all together, you're not going to miss the dressing at all. You're going to get something that's really healthy and beneficial, and it's going to provide what you need in that salad to make it satisfying. So that's one of my go-to things. You want to make sure if you're ordering salmon, make sure it's wild caught and not farmed. And again, you got to take their word for it, what it says on the menu and what they're telling you. So just trying to, get the vegetables instead of the mashed potatoes. Potatoes are one of the things you definitely want to have organic if you're eating potatoes because of what they spray on them. So go for like broccoli or cruciferous vegetables aren't bad. You could buy those non-organic and they're not going to be too bad as far as what's on them. So just kind of making those little swaps.
But skip the grilled chicken because it's going to be full of hormones, right? At a fast food restaurant.
Yeah, it might be. I don't even know if they are allowed to do the hormones anymore, but I would skip it. I would skip it because most likely it's factory farmed. And if you've seen any documentary about factory farming, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's really terrible and it's not healthy. And what they're feeding them, and they're also, I believe they also like shoot them up with something to make them grow. I've seen where the chickens are so big, they can barely stand on their little legs. They're like weebles, and none of that is good. So you're absolutely right.
You remind me of one, the quote that led me to become a vegetarian the first time. I'm not now. It was in my political science class about congressional legislation. And this was in the textbook. It said, to fully appreciate congressional legislation and hot dogs, one should see neither being made.
I love that.
And that stuck with me for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to that other meal. And that other meal is likely to be dinner. It's likely to be the whole family. It's likely to be teenagers or young kids who have a taste. By the way, we rewatched Super Size Me Again a couple of weeks ago. that is so instructive. And my stepson, who's 15, who's never met a burger he doesn't like, he was really paying attention, especially when the guy's doctor made him stop
Yeah.
doing it, or he was going to die.
Yeah. Fatty liver,
Because
non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
yeah. So you've got all these pallets at the table, and let's say, where do you start? Because you've got to start somewhere with them. Where do you start? Homemade pizza with good ingredients? What do you do?
You could do that. You could do, if you are going to do chicken or any animal products, you could do a baked chicken with seasonings that's organic. You definitely want to make sure it's organic. The salmon, like I said, wild caught. I personally don't eat any red meat or pork or anything like that. And fish every once in a while, if it's from a good source. Another thing that's fun to do is making bowls. You know how bowls are real popular now? So you could, like, when you go to like some of the places around here, like Fresh Kitchen, and they put in your base and then your veggies and all your toppings. So you could have some brown rice. You could do sweet potato noodles, something like that. Those are really good. You can do, I like to cut up sweet potato into cubes and just put it on a tray in the oven, not even putting any oil on it. Just put them on a tray and bake them in the oven. They're like candy. They're so good. You can do organic potatoes, little cubes as well, black beans, avocado, maybe guacamole. So you can make it kind of fun by having an array of things where they can just go and make their own bowl and they can pick and choose what they want. And that's really easy to do. You can make a bunch of it for several days too.
Right. So you've got to wean the kids off of this fast food stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe a homemade pizza that they might put their own toppings on might be an in-between sort of thing.
Yeah. You can even get organic sourdough pizza crust. You can find it. If you look for it, you can find it. You could put organic tomato sauce, whatever toppings you want. I'm not a big fan of dairy, but there are some organic non-dairy cheeses. There's certain brands that are better. Some of them are bad. Some of them, they're just junky processed foods. Right. So if you are going to have any dairy, that it's maybe from goat's milk or sheep's milk, something like that, if at all possible. But I would really limit it. But yeah, that's something, like you said, you're weaning, because they're not going to go from 0 to 60 overnight. Right. So it's going to be taking those little baby steps and a gradual progression in most cases.
And you know what I find, and I'm sure it's this way for others, and especially kids, is when I start moving in a direction of junk food, just like this guy in Super Size Me, when I start moving in that direction, I want more of it. And when I start moving in the other direction, I want more of that. I want to stay cleaner and lighter and less grease and all that. But each one sort of pulls you in that direction. And it can be really hard.
You're so right. That's very common. And if we have gut dysbiosis, which is a imbalance of the gut bacteria, and more bad gut bacteria in our gut microbiome than good, the bad gut bacteria, they crave sugar, they feed on sugar, and they crave the chemicals and the junk that are in the processed foods. So the more, it's like a vicious cycle. The more we eat those foods, we're having more bad gut bacteria. There's more glyphosate getting in there. And that's where glyphosate really does its devious little thing. It's in the gut microbiome. So that's where it disrupts and upsets that. So the more you go towards the other direction with the healthy foods, our palates do change too. And they get more alkaline. And then we start, when I first did this, when I started this almost 11 years ago, because I was not eating good and I was feeling it. I was feeling the effects of it. And I got on this program, and all of a sudden an apple was the most delicious thing I ever tasted. It was amazing. And a piece of avocado was the most delicious thing. So your taste buds and your palate really does change.
Mhm. If I had to my diet to three foods, you're going to think these are funny: avocado, black olives, and artichokes. And all the common denominator is that there's this luscious fattiness to them.
Hmm.
And I think I could probably live on all those. My partner and her son are from Brazil, and they've only
Okay.
been here a couple of years. They've been in and out of the US, but they were really remarking recently on the obesity problem that we have in this country. And there are some there. I went with them in February, but it's not nearly to the degree that we have here. My theory is the worst culprit is soft drinks, is carbonated drinks, as far as the empty calories
Yeah.
and what is making people here so fat. Do you have any information on that?
Yes. And that's another thing I was just talking about this morning. I am so glad you brought that up. One Coke has 65 grams of sugar. That's 130% of the daily amount that you should have. So it's more than 100%. That's one Coke. Now, I haven't ordered Coke in years. I used to be, back in the day, many, many years ago, I was a big Diet Coke drinker, which is just as bad in a different way. But I remember back then, I don't know if restaurants are still doing this, but they were coming around nonstop with the refills. The minute it started, they're right there with the refills. And one is 65 grams of sugar. The main ingredient after carbonated water, the next ingredient, high fructose corn syrup. So it covers all the bases. Glyphosate sprayed on the corn. The corn seeds are called Roundup Ready because they can spray glyphosate. The corn won't die, just the weeds. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Totally empty calories and caramel color, like all these things that are so not healthy. There's zero nutritive value, but it's also more than not just non-nutritive, it's detrimental. And it's so interesting because there's so much, like, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Conflict of interest, I guess. At one point, up until a handful of years ago, the American Diabetes Association was saying that if you stay on your medication, your metformin or whatever it is, you can have a Coke a day. You can go and now, why would they encourage that? It just makes one wonder, why would they encourage that? So,
and it's not like most people drink a can of Coke. I think that's what you were referring to. Now it's by the bucket,
yeah,
and there are these, you see the huge containers that people will carry around. It won't even fit in the cup holder.
Yeah.
But and the convenience stores really feed this, no pun intended, with any size soft drink for 89 cents.
Oh, yeah.
So you can get an 8-ounce, 10-ounce, or a
big gulp. Yeah.
bucket, which, because you're going to come in and buy a Snickers candy bar, probably the bigger one. So they want you coming back in. So you agree it's that one of the biggest culprits is these empty calories in these soft drinks.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest. And I was thinking to myself today, I literally was thinking this because every time I see somebody drinking a soda, I think this, like, I feel like it's almost like smoking. Like, you hardly ever see anybody smoking anymore. Not a lot of people. And then I see people drinking soda and I'm like, why are they drinking soda? Why didn't they get the memo? Like smoking, like, why are they drinking soda? And there's so many better alternatives. Water is a great one. And, if you can get good quality filtered water, but also right now on the market, there's no shortage of sparkling, flavored sparkling waters and organic ones. So they don't have anything artificial in them. Organic flavored sparkling waters, they're effervescent, they're refreshing. No, they're not going to be as sweet because they don't have added sugar in them like the sodas do. But yeah, if somebody, how sometimes, Mark, you hear about people and especially men, they'll say, I dropped 30 pounds. All I did was stop drinking soda. Well, go figure. Not
Yep.
surprising, because you were probably drinking it all day long, and all that sugar. And there's such an uptick in type 2 diabetes and people who are pre-diabetic now, cardiovascular disease. They're all lifestyle diseases. That's why they're called lifestyle diseases. They're a result of these unhealthy lifestyle habits.
Hmm. Let's see. One more thing before we move away from food and to some of these other four areas, and they all impact each other.
Mm-hmm.
One concern and one reason that people don't do better in this regard is cost. And if you go to Whole Foods and buy all the things that you need to be healthy, you're going to spend at least double of Publix, which is, we're down in Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of people, it is a cost factor. Now, those same people will eat buy a lot of processed stuff, and if they just bought the basics, potatoes instead of potato chips,
Yeah.
then their grocery bill would be a lot less expensive. But so I would say the average person cannot afford to go to Whole Foods to buy everything that they need, stay strictly organic. The average middle
Mm-hmm.
class person here. Now, one option that I've discovered is Aldi,
Mm-hmm.
and Aldi is owned by the same company that has Trader Joe's.
Okay.
It's a different family member, but
Oh, I didn't know that.
and they have a lot of the things that Trader Joe's has, and they do skew towards organic. So a tip for people out there is, if you've got an Aldi near you, you're going to save a lot of money and you'll still have to pick and choose, but be able to get products with healthier ingredients.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And I want to piggyback on that, if you don't mind.
No, please.
A couple other things I want to comment on. One is called the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen. You can go to ewg.org, which stands for Environmental Working Group. Every year they come out with a chart, and it's Clean 15 Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen, those are the produce items that you always want to get organic, including cherries, apples, peaches, grapes, things like that. The Clean 15, you can get away with not getting organic. You can get conventional because they either have a thick skin like avocados, or they're just not really sprayed with very much at all, like the cruciferous vegetables. So that helps, because then you use that as a guide, so you don't have to get all organic. And the other thing is the program I told you about that I have, those two meals, you know what they break down to? $6 per meal. $6. And what I found very eye-opening was, I saw something recently where a Burger King meal was $12 and change. A Chipotle, I think it was a burrito or something, was $12. And then Evos, which is a local place or regional that we have over here, that is quasi healthy. Beyond Burger, which I don't consider healthy at all because it's got so many bad ingredients, but a Beyond Burger, air fries, and a nice tea was $18.
Mm-hmm.
So people are doing that. They're grabbing these foods, like you said, out of convenience. They're paying that. And the prices have crept up because of inflation. Like, they've just kind of crept up. And I just started noticing, somebody showed that to me. And I noticed even myself getting a grab and go healthy thing from a little cafe over here. A lunch was almost $20. So it's, when you really look at it, that's what I love about the program that I offer, because it saves people so much money. Then they get their fruits and vegetables that they'll have as their snacks. They're still going to have their one healthy meal. And they're really transitioning at the same time to feeling so much better and getting those taste buds recalibrated to really appreciate whole food, like you said, as opposed to fast food and junk food.
And another go-to option here in Tampa Bay is, I think you mentioned it, Fresh Kitchen. And
Yeah.
there are, I believe this is a a concept that's catching on nationwide. So
Mhm.
it's like fast food. There are people behind a steam table that are serving decent servings of healthy food. I assume most of it's organic. And
Yeah.
but it's healthy options, and it's no more expensive than the fast food meal. 10,
Yeah.
$10, you get
Yeah.
more than you can eat in a
Definitely a
serving.
better option for sure.
Hmm. So that's another option. And I bet those choices, that type of choice is available in multiple cities, not
Mhm.
everywhere yet. But
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so let's move to one of these other areas that most of us need to work on. And they're all connected. But so let me just let you move in the direction that you like to move. You talked about
Okay.
sleep, diet, which we've covered somewhat, stress, and movement. Where do you want to go next?
Sleep. And
Okay.
thank you for giving me the option because this is one of my favorite topics. So many people, almost everybody that I talk to, they're not sleeping. And we live in a world right now where this right here, this thing is not just a phone anymore. It used to be a phone, but it's everything now. It's something we're looking at constantly. It's our computer, it's how we order stuff online. We do so much with this. So
Mm-hmm.
there's constantly blue light hitting us all day long. So sleep hygiene is so important because that's when our body repairs. That's when our brain detoxes. That's when our immune system recharges. And disrupted sleep is connected to illness and a lot of serious things. So it's so important that we get that deep restful sleep and we actually have a sleep hygiene routine or kind of a wind down routine. So there's a few things that you can do that will help with that. One is in the morning, go outside and get outside in the sunshine for 15, 20 minutes. That's going to help reset our internal body clock, which is called our circadian rhythm. So our body gets used to having this clock, time to get up, time to wind down. Then getting off of these devices at least a couple hours before bed, if at all possible. Now, if someone has, depending on the phone they have, the phone I have, this is an iPhone 14. If you can't get off your devices for whatever reason, if you feel like you got to keep looking, you got to check that last email or whatever, get blue blocker glasses. That will help cut out the blue light that keeps stimulating the pineal gland, which is going to keep us awake. But this phone, if I go 3 times, 1, 2, 3, see it turn red?
Mm-hmm.
That's the equivalent of blue blocker glasses. So when I
Okay.
start, if I'm looking at my phone in the evening, it's always like this. And then
Okay.
I change it back in the daytime to that. That's an easy little tip if your phone does that, just 3 little clicks. But getting off the devices, reading a book, a real book, instead of a Kindle book,
Right.
electronic, reading a real book, magnesium bath, blackout curtains, being in a room that's completely blacked out is going to help you get better sleep. And then I have a secret weapon, which is I have, and it's part of my program that the 90-day program is telling you about, but it's also available separately. It's a certified organic tart cherry concentrate. So tart cherries, it's the Montmorency cherry is the type, has naturally occurring melatonin and also helps the body boost its own melatonin production. So what you want when you go to bed, you want that increase in melatonin and you want this cortisol, the stress hormone, to drop down to practically nothing. Even sleep clinics recommend tart cherry. It's something you definitely want to get organic because it's on the dirty dozen. Cherries are on the dirty dozen list. But tart cherry, and then I add ocean trace minerals, which are rich in magnesium. I make a little mocktail with sparkling water an hour and a half before bed, and you sleep like a dream. It's amazing.
Things to avoid probably are eating too late. What's the
Yes,
recommendation about how long before you go to bed that you should have your last anything?
at least 3 hours.
Okay. What
Yeah.
about alcohol?
No, boy, you're on top of it, Mark. You are spot on. No alcohol. It might make you feel like you're starting to get sleepy, kind of help you wind down, but it's going to end up waking you up in the middle of the night. So
Glass of
avoid it
wine.
completely.
Yeah, and don't give me too much credit. I have some knowledge enough to be dangerous, but
I'm
it's
impressed.
not like I practice it all the time. So
Well, you
don't
you have a
don't give me
great awareness.
Yeah, don't give me too much credit. Um, so I'm going to reveal something I don't think I've ever revealed on the podcast, and that is that like a lot of men, I have a prostate issue, and it's much, I think, 10 times the size of a normal prostate that what
Mm-hmm.
it should be for men. So on a normal, no, a night that I don't take this remedy, I am up probably 8 to 10 times a night going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
urinating. So, what I have found, and I do would like to get your opinion about it, is we're in a state that has medical marijuana legal, and
Mm-hmm.
I do a gummy or a piece of chocolate, cannabis chocolate, not CBD, but
Right.
cannabis,
THC.
right before I go to bed. And I would say most of the time I'm up one time a night, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems to be at about the same time, about 3:30 a.m. So about the middle of my sleep. Um, so talk about that a little bit from your perspective and your lens.
Well, it's obviously working for you. So, everyone's individual has their individual thing, but I think that's great if that's working for you. I am not an expert by any means on THC, but I know it has many medicinal uses and can be very beneficial. I also have something else that I'm going to have you try for that. And that is something that can help. It gives prostate support with natural herbs. And I've heard from men, my husband and my best friend's husband, that they no longer have to get up in the middle of the night.
Okay, so it's an herbal remedy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, um, and but also, and I'm happy to try it. Also, the sleep. It's like near death experience.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I really sleep deeply, except for that one time.
Yeah. THC is great for that, for sleep.
Mhm. Um, okay, so uh, here's a probably a myth. I've heard others say that's a myth that you can catch up on sleep. When you get behind on sleep, you can catch up by doing a weekend sleepathon. Is that false?
I believe that's false. You
Okay.
need good, deep, restful sleep every night because every time you don't have it, it's causing some damage. So you want to make sure as much as possible. I can't emphasize enough the importance, it cannot be underestimated, of having a wind down routine or good sleep hygiene. And it's all those things we talked about. There's so many things that can help, which so many people who aren't sleeping aren't doing that. They're eating right before bed. They're having a glass of wine. They're on their phone. They're doing all these things that are stimulating and causing problems and not helping them in that direction at all.
Mm-hmm. What about optimum amount of sleep? I do think it probably varies per individual
Mm-hmm.
and by age also. Let's say a 40-year-old, otherwise healthy person working a full-time job, do they need 8 hours of sleep
I mean,
generally?
optimal would be seven, minimum 7 or 8.
Okay.
You know how some people, because we're in such a hustle culture, it's like, oh, I only need 2 hours of sleep. Like they have this bravado, like they're bragging about it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that is not that is not healthy. And by the way, I just wanted to say, you brought up about not eating right before bed, and we've been bringing that up a little bit. The reason is when you go to sleep, you don't want your body revved up to be digesting food. You
It's
want it to be
working.
winding down. Yeah.
Okay. Yep, that makes total sense. Um, okay. Anything else on sleep before we move to the next
That's
item?
probably a good amount of like the basic 101 information that I think can be very helpful.
Okay. How about if we move to movement next? Because, boy, I just had a procedure that got me off of my cardio routine.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I wasn't sleeping well. Um, to me, that's the though that's the pair of these things that affects me the most. Let's talk about exercise.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it varies with age.
Hmm.
Anyway, talk a little bit about movement.
Yeah. So movement can be very simple. And you probably heard of the blue zones, the 5 areas in the world that have the highest concentrations of the oldest living people that are living to 100 and beyond, but also they're living vibrant lives. They're enjoying life and they're not frail and can't do anything. They're actually going out and doing stuff. But one of the common denominators is movement. And the interesting thing is they're not going to a gym in most cases, other than one is in Loma Linda, California. But in the other areas, they probably don't even have gyms there. If you wanted to join one, you probably couldn't even find one. But it's movement through the activities of their daily life. So one thing that's very beneficial after you have a meal, take a walk, take a 15-minute walk. That helps with your digestion, and it's very healthy to do that. Take a walk in the morning. You could get your sunshine and get your movement and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Your sunshine to help you with your circadian rhythm and your sleep, and then your movement. So it can be simple. It could be pulling weeds. It could be gardening. It could be doing chores around the house. As long as you're off the couch, you're getting around, you're moving. It doesn't necessarily have to be something intense like CrossFit or anything like that, but just getting some kind of daily consistent movement is always going to be helpful, and it's important for our health.
What are those areas of the world that you were talking about where people move optimally?
So
China with Tai Chi.
One is Okinawa, Japan.
Okay.
And then Loma Linda, California. And there's other common denominators besides movement, but that's definitely one of them. Another one is Icaria, Greece, and the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica, and Sardinia, Italy. And in Sardinia, it's very dense, the way the buildings are built, and there's a lot of vertical because it's small. There's not a lot of land, horizontal space. So a lot of them are going up and down stairs. They're doing that. Some of them are herding goats and doing things like that. And then they don't have a lot of stress. They might have short-term stress, like getting the goats together, but then it is over. It's not chronic, nonstop stress.
Okay. So, in terms of movement, it's not that important, I'm hearing you say, for it to be extreme sports. That walking, yoga, I would imagine, falls into that category.
Yeah, some weight bearing, maybe some weight bearing exercise. It can even be with your own body weight, because that can help with bone health too.
Is it more important for women to do some of these exercises because of bone loss?
Yeah.
It is men.
Yes, the weight bearing exercises.
What else do you want to say about movement?
Just try to get some every day. It's all about consistency. It's about consistent steps and just getting started, just getting started. And it's progress, not perfection with any of this. We just want to get started. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it off. And we're not going to, like I said, we're not going to go 0 to 60 overnight, but there is a compound effect when you're doing small steps consistently every single day. It pays off. And I would like to say something about stress if we have time.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Although, let me just make one other point. I think I like to exercise in the afternoon, and these shorter days make it harder for me to do it. If it's light until 9 o'clock, I can go to the gym or go out for a walk. But when it's 5:30, I feel like, shit, I missed my opportunity, and it's only 5:30.
Day's over.
Yeah. So, okay, go ahead and let's talk about stress, meditation, other things that help with that.
Yeah, I mean, managing stress is really important. Stress can be a killer, and we have to really take that seriously. And we live in stressful times. We live in a stressful world. So we have to really make sure that we're not constantly in fight or flight mode, which is the sympathetic nervous system. We have our autonomic nervous system, which controls our breathing and, involuntary things that we would never be able to keep up with if we had to do it voluntarily. But then we can go into that sympathetic nervous system, which we need. If you're walking down the street and there's a vicious dog coming at you, that's going to go into effect. You need that adrenaline rush, but it's short term. You don't want to be in a constant state of stress because it releases stress hormones, cortisol among many, but it's not healthy. It can actually bring down or lower our immune system. So it's serious. We've got to manage. You mentioned meditation, and just one thing I find that works really, really well for managing stress is every morning having a gratitude practice, just writing down 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. And it could be very simple things. And that'll shift the way you're thinking and the way you start your day and get you out of that mode. You want to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. And that's when our body repairs itself. That's what we need to be in more of that. So we want to just manage stress and try to be aware, have an awareness of it, where we're not in that chronic, always worrying, always, because it's not going to change anything. There's things that we can't change. So focus on the things that we can and the things that we're grateful for. And it will even change chemically, hormones in our bodies.
Yeah. I have a mantra that I work with, and there's this scarcity and abundance dichotomy that a lot of us have going on. And the quote that really kicks my butt in a good way is, scarcity cannot exist where there's gratitude. And I have practiced it and found that it's absolutely true. I cannot simultaneously hold feelings of scarcity and feelings of gratitude.
I love that. That is beautiful. It feels so good, doesn't it? When you focus on gratitude and things that you have and appreciate, it's wonderful. It's a whole different feeling of bliss almost.
Yep. And sharing that with others, the clerk in the grocery store line, who's not used to being appreciated. It's a different mindset for sure.
That's such a great point. So many people don't hear that appreciation.
A corollary to that, which tickles me, is no whining on the yacht.
That's great.
So many of us bemoan first world problems here.
Yeah,
for sure.
I know.
Well, let's wind up. If people would like to reach out to you to have your guidance and coaching, how can they best reach you?
So best is by text. My number 727-422-2031, Florida Eastern Time Zone, and also Instagram. And I post a lot of health tips on Instagram and simple 101 things that anybody can implement. So my Instagram is at Sonia, SONIA _Magruder, MAGRUDER. And then Facebook is Sonia Magruder, just my name, facebook.com/Sonia Magruder. And email. Oh, actually, you know what? My website, soniamagruder.com, and everything is on there too.
Okay, good. And we'll put that down in the show notes below so that people can reference that and find you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Sonia for joining me today to talk about her career as an integrative nutrition health coach. To learn more about Sonia, please see her information down in the show notes below. You can learn more about OutMarket.Pro also in the show notes as a digital marketing agency. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, click the notification bell for future episodes, and we'll see you next time on the OutMarket.Pro podcast. Thanks again, Sonia.
Thank you so much, Mark.